This is getting real. Ready? Rolling. This is getting so very real. Less than 2 weeks now, I will be flying to Paris. What? What? I have only ever been out of the US once, and that was to go to Eastern Europe. My first time on a plane was a 14-hour flight to Eastern Europe, and now I am going to Paris. I'm so excited. I don't even know where to start with this. French people have always been a big part of my life. I love you, French people. When I was in middle school, my mom insisted that I start reading more and more classics, and so I read The Three Musketeers and became obsessed with it, and it is still my favorite classic and my favorite book to this day. I am just interested because of the history, because I've always been a nerd. History nerd. And then when I got to college, a lot of my mentors ended up being French. One in particular, I'm looking at him. He's not gonna watch this, so it's fine, but I'm still not gonna say his name. But he is the Frenchiest French to have ever Frenched. I don't like the way that I said that. Possibly the biggest influence, my best friend from college, Julia, who has been on this channel. Julia, the light of my life, is French. That's why I'm going to Paris. If you haven't figured that out from the title of this video and probably the intro that I made, we're going to Paris to see Julia. Also just to be a relative nuisance to the French people, but you know, see Julia too. I'm really excited. I have not seen her since she was here in Tennessee visiting me for a week last year hanging out. Now it's my turn. Now it's my turn to go to her home turf and hang out in Paris. We've talked about this so much. We've talked about all the stuff that we do and all the places we go and just all the fun we have. I'm so excited to actually go hang out with her and also be in Paris. Just so many good things at once. And another good thing, I'm preparing myself. Julia's gonna laugh at this when she watches this back. I've been reading Hemingway's A Movable Feast. And I actually asked Julia, I was like, listen, I don't want to be the American tourist, like, that creates a faux pas. How dorky would it be if I, like, read this and bring this over with me? Luckily, she was like, oh, it's not dorky at all. Like, it shows you actually, you know, did some research and, like, are interested in stuff like that. It's not like I'm bringing 10 guidebooks with, like, a Hawaiian shirt and a camera. So I was like, got it. I love that. Because that's another reason that I love Paris is, or another, like, connection of intrigue, I guess, that I have to Paris, because Hemingway is one of my favorite writers, and of course his time in Paris was very influential to his writing, very influential to his personhood, and something very exciting. I guess I could tell you this because, did you fall? Stop that. This is not Rome. What are you doing? Another reason I'm very excited. So I don't know what all we're going to be getting up to, which is kind of the exciting part. Julia told me to give her some ideas about things that I want to do, but honestly, I'm kind of just leaving most of it up to her discretion. But one thing that is set in stone that we're going to do is see Beartooth. Julia has never seen Beartooth, of course. I never have either. It's, you know, why would I? It's not like I like them or anything. What I'm even more excited about, though, is they have no idea that I'm coming. And I'm getting VIP. So I'm terrified of the flight over there, by the way. I've only ever been on an airplane once, and now I'm gonna be flying alone by myself. I'm very, very scared. I'm very scared of all the possibilities that could happen, and so I'm trying to logically, like, calm myself down and be like, hey, nerves are, you know, normal, especially, like, when you're going alone for the first time and everything's, like, new, and it's just, like, you haven't experienced it yet. It's not, like, a ever-present, like, terror. It's just that I'm, like, very nervous. And it comes and goes in waves. That's how I know it's, like, don't reference that. It comes and goes in waves. Now I curse myself because every single time I say it, I think of when I tell people to don't look at that. It does come and go in waves, though, because sometimes I'll, like, be so anxious that I'm like, something bad is gonna happen, something bad's gonna happen, something bad's gonna happen, something bad's gonna happen. But then other times I'm like, girl, calm down. So that's how I know it's not like a premonition. If it is, it's the most inconsistent premonition that's ever been had, which, you know, makes sense for ADHD, but I've had a lot of gut feelings before, and I don't take this as, like, a gut feeling, because it's, like, it waves of being like, it's gonna be fine. Because it's also a shorter flight than what I thought it was. It's only gonna be 8 hours. Like, it's 2 hours to JFK, because I'm going to JFK and then to Paris. And so it's going to be like 2 hours to JFK, 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours to Paris, which the first time I was on a plane, remember, I flew 12 hours straight for my first ever flight. So, like, this should be relatively a walk in the park for me, you know? And I'm trying to think about it in terms of, like, what flight, like, movies and TV and stuff I'm gonna watch. I think mostly, though, I'm gonna sleep because it's gonna be an overnight flight. But in case, like, the nerves are getting to me and I'm super anxious, I hope, this is gonna sound so stupid, I hope that they have Naruto, because I'm thinking of it in terms of how many episodes of Naruto could I watch by the time I get over there? Well, if I skip the intro and the outro, and there's no ad, and they're like 20 minutes apiece, I could watch like 20 episodes of Naruto by the time I get there. What's wrong with me? And that's if I can't sleep. Or I can watch 7 episodes of Supernatural. And I've been telling my mom how I'm gonna be on that plane is like Dean Winchester. But I'm so excited to be going to the Beartooth show and just to be going to Paris in general. Because like I said, I'm getting VIP and they have no idea. They got no clue. The trip wasn't made in mind with like going to see them. I've been wanting to go see Julia in Paris for forever and wanting to go see Paris for forever. It just happened that like the tour lined up with the dates that we were considering already because of like her academic schedule and like commitments and things like that. It just happened to be a happy coinkydink. And so that's what we're doing as part of our fun. I'm gonna be there for a week. Redneck in Paris, and we're gonna make the most of it. And it's kind of a little bit stressful. Number one, because of the flight stuff, doing it all by myself. But I will say, Julia has been the most amazing best friend, the most amazing, like, travel person. However, he wants to travel liaison, because she's like, I will write you a freaking handwritten step-by-step guide if you need it. And I'm like, that is the kind of support I need in a relationship. Like, I'm not, like, reading this as, like, a guide to Paris or anything, but it's something that I've been wanting to read anyway, and this feels like a perfect excuse to read it and just to help give me a new lens to look at Paris through as well, like an extra lens to look at Paris through while I'm enjoying the sights in the city and just hanging out with her. Another thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to finish my current 10 pages a day book before I go over there. If you don't know, I have a challenge where I read 10 pages a day, like, in the mornings or whenever, just 10 pages a day. And I do it one book at a time, and it's usually a book that I have been putting off for years, or just a book I feel intimidated by, or a book that, like I said, has been lounging on my shelf for years. Currently, right now, it is Directorate S. It's something that I've had since before, like, my Georgetown days. A lot of politics books left over. Yeah, I'm nearly, like, done with it, majority-wise. Like, I am 505 out of 687. So, you know, 17 more days, but I leave in like 13. So I got a lot of catching up to do. And also, it's just bulky. Like, I don't want to be carrying this around. I got enough stuff to be carrying this around. So I want to finish it and get that done and choose my next one, which I think is going to be like a small fiction book that I can just throw in my pocket and carry with me. Overall, though, I'm super excited. I'm super nervous, but it's a good kind of nervous. It's a good kind of nervous. I know that once I do it and I get there, you know, it'll be fine. It's just the getting there part that I'm concerned about. But actually getting there, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see what ideas she has, what we're gonna get to do. You know, even if like we just hung out like in her apartment and like watch movies and stuff, like that would be fine with me. And no one knows I'm going. It's not just Beartooth, like no one knows I'm going. I told one friend recently because of circumstances. My best, closest friends have no idea. Only my mom and like my parents and stuff know. Like my cousins don't even know. My other family doesn't know. Nobody knows. No one knows. They'll know by the time this video's out, but no one has any idea. And I've been trying to keep a lot of stuff, like a lot of what I'm working on and things like that, more secret, more private until like it's ready to be shared. This is gonna be huge. And how I'm planning on revealing it is I want to take a selfie near the Eiffel Tower, but not the kind of selfie you're thinking about. It's going to be kind of under the chin angle where it's like me looking up like at my phone. And I'll just post it here instead of just telling you about it. And that's going to be my reveal that I'm in Paris. And I think I'm just going to like mute my phone for like the next few hours and have people go haywire. And not explain. And not explain. Because I am a menace to society. So yeah. Clap doctor.
Excuse me?
Nervous. But I'm going to be very, very brave. Because what's the alternative? Staying home and being afraid too? But I'm also thinking of like all the fun and stuff that we're going to have over there. And I'm kind of stressing about all the stuff that I need to do and get done before I go over there. But plane tickets are booked. I'm now getting a new suitcase. I'm getting new shoes. Which I've been needing to have anyway. I'm not just cosmeticing for this trip. Like, I've been needing new shoes for forever. My toes are coming out of the sides of my shoes. Like, they are falling apart. So it's not only that, but it's also figuring out what videos I need to finish filming and have uploaded before I go. But right now, that's where we stand. 13 days, man. 13 days, and I will be on a plane to go. I don't know when I'll check in with you next. because that was kind of a big info dump of what's to come. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm excited for it. I guess you'll see. I guess you'll see. I guess you'll find out. I guess you'll find out. I guess you'll know later. I guess you'll know later. Bye. It's getting dumber and dumber.
This is French. And
Yeah, if people haven't figured it out by now.
And the name of the place is so quintessentially French. Oh wait, let me show the cider bottle too.
Hello.
I'm not the best B-roll taker.
Yes, you are. Slay. Slay Queen Fam the Boots. The guy was just saying that a table of 5 over there spent 220 euros on dinner.
Oh my lord.
Which is like, how do you do that?
Very carefully.
With a lot of thought.
You want to wave to Leah in the mirror?
Oh, can you see me?
A little bit. That's the baby. The best one.
Some cities make me sad in the rain. Paris, it works. Like they knew where they were building it.
They did something right.
Yeah. They're like, we know where we are. We need to make it look still like okay.
As if it
Look
could
at that gorgeousness.
gorgeous actual.
Gorgeous.
Meanwhile, you stay put.
Look at, you got a flake. It's got a flake.
Not you.
This side is better.
Wait, hold on. I gotta
Look at
get
this.
focus. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you want
That
some,
looks
don't
so
you?
good.
Oh, you want it.
Of course
Ooh.
it's gonna be good. Unlike someone.
Frenchie. What shall you name him?
Well, let's see. Athos, Porthos, Aramis, D'Artagnan.
Mm-hmm.
I love them so much.
They beauty, the radio antenna.
He's so up in the clouds.
He is.
Like
The Tower of Eiffel.
Eiffel Tower.
Eiffel Tower.
That's the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, it is.
If I poke it, will it fall over? Ooh.
Oh, do you want a pic of like the?
No, God, no,
the
Julia.
thing? Okay, never mind. Just saying.
Unless you do it.
No. Absolutely not.
Not in this day and age. Mud is precious.
Very.
And look at the flowers.
Pretty flowers.
I wish I had these.
If you had that like out in front of your house, and when someone starts turning around in the driveway, they'd actually think twice about it.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. There's like a.
Okay, but dude, maca moon pies would be sick. Can you imagine? So good. Look at those fountains.
Look at all those chickens.
Think of how much he spends on pet food.
Yes. Well, it has a roof now, which is pretty neat.
I think I got you saying that. It does have a roof now, which is very neat. I'd agree. Look back like, this is weird, right?
The building itself is actually really pretty.
Turn it up.
I cannot fucking hear you. Think of mine. Sticking by our side through all these years. Because I truly cannot believe that we get to play in this beautiful, beautiful venue to a sold-out crowd of quite possibly, I mean, okay, never mind. Without a doubt, the most enthusiastic crowd we have ever played to in Paris, France. So thank you. Thank you again for supporting this band, for fucking believing in us. Now, do we have any singers in Paris? Any singers? I'm coming
Out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss. It was only a kiss.
Now he's falling asleep while he's having a smoke. And she's taking a drag and they're going to bed. Then my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now I'm picking up the pieces. Please just look the other way. I'm picking up the pieces. Please just look the other way. Go off the rails every chance that I'm given. Is it worth my life if it means I might get in? I hear angels calling my name. But better listen before I implode. Don't get bored, man. No one's gotta get in. Let's just
Go for it.
Do it, do it, do it.
I love the horse statues because they look like the guardians of Rohan.
You know what, Julia?
Yes.
You know what, Julia?
What?
Me too. That's a real good guard right there.
Guards.
That's a real good guard. This is Guard Central.
Garg City over here.
Guard City. Guard City. Guard City.
Garg City,
I have
bitch.
all of my-
Garg City, bitch.
Yeah, you said it when I didn't have the courage. When I was a young warthog. Oh my god, we're idiots.
Yes.
morning we were back from France. I know this was not a very talky vlog, but you know what? Sometimes change is good. Like my California vlog, it was more focused on actually having the experience rather than creating an experience for you. I was gonna say I hope that's okay, but it is how it is. But to end off this vlog, I did want to talk to you a little bit about it. Did want to tell you maybe a few little stories here and there, because I didn't just want it to be radio silence all the way throughout. And I wanted to show you some of the cool stuff that I got. I thought I was going to get a lot more. Granted, I don't know what, but I thought I was just going to get a lot more stuff. That's why I pre-planned and checked a bag just in case I had that much overflow. I don't have a suitcase scale, and so I was just judging on vibes. I was like, this is not as heavy as a bag of dog food. Is it? Okay, Chey, what did you get? I'm not going to go over what I got for other people with you, because I feel like that's a waste of time. We're just here to talk about me, alright? Cool. One of the first things that I got was this notebook from the Louvre. I love tigers. There's not much else to say. And I'm a writer, so I hoard notebooks, because that is the first rule of being a writer, is hoard notebooks and never write in like 75% of them. But this is just like a nice little guy. I like carrying these sort of... They're not pocket notebooks, but they're kind of like pocket notebooks. They're just more of like, just like little journals, because I often stick these in my backpack to take them whenever I'm on audio engineering gigs or backlining or anything like that, because if I need to write something down that my client or my boss tells me to write down, I just pull this out. Okay, scribble, whatever. I love these little guys. And I love tigers. This painting is stunning. But I didn't want any touristy stuff for me. I did kind of want one. I was like, I'll go a little gimmicky on the magnet, because magnets are goofy and they're supposed to be fun anyway. It's not a big deal. But when I saw this, even Julia, like, gave her stamp of approval, because it's kind of cute and it's also kind of traditional, but, like, it's a good gimmicky. It's a good gimmicky. It's a baguette magnet. And not only that, Julia was telling me about, like, the tradition style and stuff like that. It's cute. I got my mom and dad a croissant to match. It's cute, alright? It's cute. It's cute, it's sweet, it's simple. My stitches! Yee! I got stitches when I came back. A lot of things happening in the Chey household. Okay, and two other things that I got while at this little shop were, Julia had said she had never seen these before, and I had never heard of these before, but they had these little magnet mini versions of famous paintings. They had a bunch to choose from, but I ended up getting this Monet one, which just caught my eye from the minute I saw it. Just the colors of it are gorgeous. And then I got one of the, as Americans say, Van Gogh paintings. And they used Comic Sans for my boy. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see it good enough. They used Comic Sans for my boy. Put some respect on Van Gogh's name. Okay. Honestly, I don't know whether he would have loved or hated it. I love these. I'm so happy with these. They're cute. They're cute, alright? They're cute. Shut up. So we went to the Beartooth show, as you saw. I'm not going to show you every single thing I got from the Beartooth show, but this was sitting right next to me. I got the Beartooth beanie, this tour beanie that was on tour. I like having beanies. I don't have enough pink, so I got it. Also, I was talking to Carlos. Can you blame me? Another cute little kind of gimmicky thing that I got, but... not gimmicky. The pattern on it is kind of gimmicky, but it's cute, and it's Julia approved. Everything here is Julia approved, alright? We went to the shop in, I'm gonna butcher my pronunciation, so French people don't come after me, Julia don't come after me, Montmartre. I always feel so awkward because I know I'm saying it wrong, and I'm just, But we went there and we're in a like little tourist shop, and I was getting a bunch of gifts for other people, like checking off all my lists and stuff. And I saw this and I was like, I kind of want it. Like, it's goofy, but also it's useful, it's practical. I love things that are goofy yet practical. Anyway, Chey, stop blabbing. Jesus Christ. I got a cheese... Well, it's not a cheesecloth, but I just got a kitchen towel that's got cheese on it. That's what attracted me. I was like, cheese! Me and Julia love Monty Python. It's one of the first things that we bonded over, and so, of course, we were quoting the cheese shop sketch the entire time that we were in Paris. When we were walking up the hill, I looked over and I was like, Julia, that's a record shop. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, so there's a Bob Seger vinyl in the window. I didn't get any records. I was very tempted to, but I was like, they're gonna break in my suitcase on the way back. Very good I didn't do that, because both of my bags on both of my flights ended up having to be checked, my carry-ons included, because the flights were all full. But I did end up getting a Run DMC shirt, which I'm not sure where it is. It may be at my parents' house. And I got the tote bag to carry all the stuff in. The real reason I got this, not just the shop name, but it has the address, which is in Paris. Of course, one of the main things any bibliophile has to do when they're in Paris is go to Shakespeare & Co. It's just a rite of passage. You gotta do it. I also have a bunch of postcards and bookmarks that I may insert footage of here while I'm blabbing about other things. That may help me. Good job, Chey. So I have some from Shakespeare & Co., I have some from the Louvre, I have just different ones that I liked because I'm a sucker for pretty art. But we made the trek to Shakespeare & Co., and I didn't want to spend too long in there because we had other stuff planned, but also I'm the worst person when it comes to book shopping because I hate buying new books. Yeah, girly loves to read. I hate buying new books, and books are expensive, and you never know if you're gonna like a book, like if you buy it until you read it. So what I do is I usually read from the library first if I can, not only to support my local library, but to support my bank account, because I simply cannot afford it. No hate to those who can, I am just not one of your number. I want to buy so many of the books, but I always have this like guilt beaver, and the beavers are on the brain, in the back of my mind, where I'm like, you really want to spend $18 on that? Are you sure you're gonna like that? Why don't you spend $18 on this book like you know you like? Just get a copy of it that you read from the library. And I feel much more comfortable doing that, which, you know, poverty mindset is a hell of a drug. Going into Shakespeare & Co. was hard for me, but also things in Paris are more expensive in general, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in here and I at least want to get one book that I haven't read, but I want it to be a book that I have been highly anticipating, that I know I'm probably gonna like, which is what I usually do when I go book shopping, but I was like, that is the mindset we are sticking to here. We are not just book browsing, we are looking for a couple of copies, which I'll get to in a second, and then a book that I've really been wanting to read. Oh, I can't move as fast because my stitches. Ah, I'm drowning in my sleep. It's got too deep. No one's gonna come in, set you free. That whole album slaps, bro. Like I was saying at the beginning of this vlog, one of my big loves of Paris, well, has always been Dumas. I told Julia, I was like, okay, there's some things that I'm looking for. I want to try and find a French edition of the Three Musketeers or the Count of Monte Cristo or something by Dumas, because the US just don't have it, okay? We have like one or two, and yet Dracula's got like 37 different pretty editions. Wuthering Heights has like 40. Like Jane Eyre has like 25. Yet Three Musketeers has like 3. And so I was like, okay, I want to try and find a really pretty edition of the Three Musketeers or the Count of Monte Cristo, something by Dumas. I don't care if they're in French or English. They're probably going to be in French if they're super pretty. That's fine with me. I have all the English copies I could need to read it. I just want a pretty boy, you know? I like my boys pretty. So that was a goal, but also, as I was doing in the beginning of this vlog, I was reading A Movable Feast by Hemingway, which I pretty much finished on the plane, except for the additional sketches, which I then finished while in Paris, which was crazy to read, because him talking about being 25 in Paris, and me going to Paris for the first time when I'm 25 is surreal, and also going over this with Julia, her living just like next to his neighborhood where he lived, like all the places where he was walking around talking about in this book. She's like, oh yeah, that's down the street. That's like 2 minutes from me. That's like 5 minutes from me. Yeah, that's around the corner. I'm like, huh? And so that was really fun that when I got there and like we were actually walking around and I like was able to show her the book, she was able to point out to me as we were walking, like, yeah, that's the place he was talking about. Like, this is the street. The history nerd in me, more than satisfied. The history literature nerd in me was like, I am in heaven. Like, it was just amazing. It was really cool to actually be walking among living history, which I always love that feeling when you go to a city that has that much history, that has that much personality. And me and Julia had really great talks about this in general. We have really great talks about everything, but we had a great talk about, like, the city of Paris in general and the feeling of it and history and stuff like that. It was really cool to be walking among the history that I had recently read about, and just kind of see how it's evolved and see how it's changed. Can you tell that I may have liked it? Can you tell I may have liked this book? just a little bit. I bring that up because when I walked in to Shakespeare & Co. So Shakespeare & Co. is mentioned heavily in here because he's a starving poor writer, and he wanted to go to Shakespeare & Co. get some rental books, and he was friends with Sylvia Beach, the original owner of Shakespeare & Co. She actually lets him take books out from the library for free before he can even pay it. And he's like, I'll bring these book backs and like I'll pay you whenever like I get these books back, you know, or like whatever. And she tells him, don't read too fast. Anyway, I walked in there, and they have, like, a classic section by, you know, Parisian writers and stuff like that, and I saw this one. This copy of A Movable Feast that's, like, right outside Shakespeare & Co. And yes, like, this is photoshopped, but, like, 2 different photos put together. It's not totally photoshopped, but just the actual setting of it, being at Shakespeare & Co., the cover of it, and all that, and actually getting it at Shakespeare & Co., not just seeing it in, like, a Barnes & Noble, but getting it at Shakespeare & Co. I was like, yeah, if there's one I had to walk out of there with, it's gotta be this one. And, because I am a child of the late 90s, early 2000s, I watched Madeline. I remember Madeline. I still have my little toys for Madeline. So I got the book. Child Chey is so happy. And yes, it's in French, but, like, okay. Alright, the last few things that we have, Julia has been trying to get me to read this author for such a long time. It's her favorite author, one of her favorite authors, and she surprised me by getting this and the other thing that I'm about to show you for me. So thank you, Julia. I love you. You know I love you. I could go on and on about Julia in this video, but I won't, because that's not the French way. So Julia, you're cool, I guess. But Julia got me this beautiful edition of Moonlight, which is just stories by her favorite author. And look at this copy. Look at this cover, bro. It's a cloth-bound edition. And it is just gorgeous. Look at that. I cannot wait to get into this. She has talked to me so much about this author. She thinks that I will absolutely adore them. I can't wait to get into it. I can't wait to read it. This is like a good stormy day kind of sit down and read book, because it's less than 200 pages. The other thing that she got and surprised me with was one of the things I've been looking for all along. A gorgeous copy of The Three Musketeers. And it's in French, but look at this boy. Look at this guy, y'all. Like the gilded, like it looks like it's gilded with all the foil. Oh my gosh. I don't know if all French classic editions are like this, or if it's just like this book, like this company, the Classic Points. But the pages, like the cover, you can probably tell is pretty buttery and matte. Pretty buttery and matte. You can probably see it in that kind of lighting. But also, the pages are just as matte and buttery. And I love that, like, oh my gosh, I love it. You'll be surprised to find out that I actually did end up finding a book that was one of my most highly anticipated, and I didn't feel guilty about buying, and that is Never Whistle at Night. It's an indigenous dark fiction anthology. If you know me, you know I love folk horror, folklore. I'm all about that nature horror and just Appalachian kind of native heritage, native horror. I don't think that it's done very well by very many people, but I have more faith in this than I do in a lot of other writers. And I've heard glowing reviews from my friends who have read it. The title itself gives me hope as an Appalachian and as a person with native ancestry. It gives me hope. I'm very excited. That was all I got from Shakespeare & Co. Now, when we were out, we had just gone to the Luxembourg Gardens, and we were walking back down the rue of Who Shall Not Be Named. And funnily enough, right between the two streets, I believe it was, where Athos and Captain Treville lived in The Three Musketeers. Yes, I looked up those locations because I'm a nerd, and next time I go to Paris, Julia's gonna help me hunt them down for fun, like Easter eggs, and just, like, see what they are now today, because Athos is my boy, so mark that down. As we were walking down that road, we came across another bookstore, and I wanted to go in to try and see if they had any children's books to get for my friends' kids, like, in French, like, basic French children's books, like Madeline, but I wanted to try and get them all a different something. I didn't want to get them all the same book. So we went in and looked, and we did not end up finding anything like that, but what we did end up finding, more Dumas, in these beautiful editions. This is The Count of Monte Cristo, Book 1, Book 2. In the same kind of buttery, foily editions, and I had to have them. So this is Book 1, Tome 1, Tome 1. Look at that beautiful blue foiling. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? Just absolutely gorgeous. the little birds, the back. Then this one's my favorite because of the pistols, the dueling pistols. But like, look at the smoke. Almost looks like water coming out of them. Focus, iPhone 7. You can do it. The treasure. Look at that. And the bottle on the back. Shut up. Even like down to the tiny little writing. Shut your pie hole. So that's pretty much all that I got. Like I said, I didn't end up getting that much. What I did get, Chey, can we focus for 2 seconds, please? What I did end up getting, I love so much. General Paris experience. My mom, so I think I may have mentioned that, like, my mom wasn't nervous about my flight whatsoever. She was more of like, I'm more nervous that you're gonna get over there and you never want to come home. Like, you're gonna want to stay in Paris. And I said, you're crazy. Well, yes, but no. So, I don't think that I would do well to live in Paris because I'm not a city girly, and I still kind of stand by that. But I have a thing where I'm like, I think it would be good for me to not live in the US for a few years. Like, I had plans, and I mean, I'd still do it. The main thing is money. I would go live in, like, Ireland, Scotland, Japan, anywhere else for, like, a few years, just for the experience, if I could afford it. I think it would just be good for me as a person. I think it would be good for my mental health. I think it would be good for cultural experience, life experience. Paris is now on that list. That's all I have to say about that. I loved it, walking around all the history. My mom was right in that aspect. I think I acclimated to Paris very well, and I think a lot of that has to do with going to school in DC and just being a very adaptable person in general. But DC definitely helped prepare me for this. Like, going through crowds, going on the metro, different kinds of manners and stuff like that. Going down the escalators in the metro and all that. Like, none of that intimidated me, none of it shocked me. Going in it the first couple of times, like you would any kind of city, you kind of had to fill out the social situations. Kind of had to fill out the social climate. But then after that, like, I feel like I just got it. You know? Like, I felt like a natural. I felt like one of them. All that to say, I freaking love Paris. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, I like it much more than DC, and I think I would love it more than New York City. But Paris is somewhere that, like, because of the neighborhoods, like where Julia was, and different neighborhoods we walk through, are more quiet, whereas others are more stereotypically metropolitan. I think that I could, because, like, there are quiet streets, and then there are the busier streets, and yes, as I know, there are those everywhere in cities, but I don't know, something about Paris felt different in that way, and so I think that I acclimated well there, and I think that I could live there. Not to mention, I did very well for an American tourist, according to Julia, and her word is law. If you don't know that here, when it comes to France, Julia's word is law here on this channel. I don't want to be like, oh, they thought that I was French, but they definitely didn't treat me like the American tourist, and I feel so icky bragging about this, so I'm not going to brag about it. I just want to give you context. Saying bonjour whenever you walk in to a place did not overstate that importance. That was so important, and that got me so much more, like, enthusiasm and interactions with me, I feel like. Not being like, oh my gosh, I'm, like, so different and quirky, and I'm amazing. That's not, please don't take that away, that that's what I'm trying to say here. I am more of just proud of myself that I feel like I was more welcomed and that, like, I did a good thing. I did a good job. But for example, we went into this cafe, one of the cafes Hemingway mentions that he used to work at, and we walked in, you know, the host, I guess you would say. I don't know if they were a waiter or not, but I was like, you know, bonjour, and they were like, bonjour, and Julia, and so we sat down, and then this other lady, clearly American, no offense, but clearly American, walks in on her phone, looking up, guy goes, bonjour, and she's like, looks at him, and he goes, bonjour, and she goes, oh, bonjour. Like, it was kind of uncomfortable at first, but then when I started thinking of it as just, like, literally just the equivalent of saying hello in English, I was like, Chey, calm down. It's really not that hard. It's more of my self-consciousness of mispronouncing the word. But then I realized of, like, hey, it's manners, And like Julia also said, the fact that I'm even trying and I know to do that in the first place is gonna win me some points. And I'll take it. I'll take it because I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be the person being like, I'm an American, I'm here, treat me well. You know, like, nah, I'm in your home. I'm in your place. We play by your rules. So that, I felt like that earned me some brownie points. That's the way I'll put it, because I feel icky bragging about it. So I'll just say that. I feel like it earned me some brownie points, whereas otherwise, being an American probably would not have. For another example, we were walking around one of the churches in Vermont, the big guy, and I was looking at the one of the paintings, and a French gentleman, like, bumped into me, and I saw him about to bump into me, and so I was like, oh, pardon, and, like, right as he bumped into me, and he goes, oh, pardon, bonjour, bonsoir. I was like, does he think I'm French? Or did that just, like, come out, you know? But I don't know, it felt nice to see the look, because clearly, like, I know I look like an American, I know I don't pass for French, but it felt nice just to see the smiles on people's faces whenever, like, I walked in and said bonjour, and, like, you could tell they immediately were like, oh, relief, this one gets it. Flying by myself was terrifying. The flight back from France was actually not that bad. The flight there, because it was my first flight ever alone, terrifying, horrifying, could not sleep the entire time. No offense to the flight crew, who were all amazing, and by the way, the flight staff were amazing, because my family friend, who is the flight attendant, just didn't end up getting to fly all the way for me like she thought, because there were not going to be enough seats turning around and coming back at Gaulle, but she ended up talking to one of the stewardesses at the gate of the one at JFK, and they just ended up, like, you know, people in similar professions, people in the same professions have budding friendships already. And she was like, yeah, I'll take care of her. I'll see if I can get her a better seat. Like, I'll check after her. And she did. She was absolutely amazing. Also at JFK, when our family friend was like, yeah, you're not going to be able to, like, I'm not going to be able to fly with you all the way, but, like, you're going to be fine. And I'm sitting there, you know, keeping it all together, but having a slight panic attack. I'm just, like, terrified. I'm trying to, I nervously ramble whenever I'm nervous. Great, Chey. And so I was trying to nervously ramble to her to get this anxiety out. And she's, like, looking past me out the windows of the gate, and she was like,
oh, that's a big fire.
And I turn around, and on the tarmac, across the way, there's just a plane just engulfed. And I was like, right 20 minutes before I was about to get on a plane for 8 hours, I looked at her and I was like, I wish you hadn't said anything. And she was like, oh. She goes, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said anything. That just made it worse. And I was like, But the flight back, the 8-hour flight back from de Gaulle was actually not that bad. I mean, yeah, I was scared and anxious. I should say nervous. Scared is too strong a word. Just very, very nervous. But the pilot was so good. The pilot was so great that anytime there's, like, a bump of air on the plane, I immediately, like, perk up like a meerkat, and I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm not like, oh my god, but I am very much, like, pay attention. Probably because, you know, I haven't done it enough. And so now, like, I'm a little bit more comfortable when I know, like, there's just, like, a little whatever. But then, flying back across the Atlantic, like, whenever I felt it, and whenever it would start to get a little rough, and I just, like, tense up more and more and more. But this pilot got me to the point where, like, I was almost sleeping through that. Because I was like, he's got it. He's got it, it's fine, because I would feel it bump and then, like, level out, like, so quickly, so I was almost sleeping. That's how good he was. I wish I knew his name. I'd send him a cookie, but I can't. But thank you, Mr. Sir. The flight back to Nashville was a problem. And I don't blame the pilot for it. I moved my seat and ended up sitting right next to the wing, so part of that is on me, instead of just sitting in the aisle like I should have been, where I did on the last 2 flights, where I had gotten comfortable with, sitting next to the wing, where there was, you know, gonna be bumps and gonna be, you know, but also it did not help that the second that we pulled away from the gate, the plane started going, I'm sorry. Planes don't make that noise. And so immediately, I thought of my mom's only story where she heard a noise like that going over Hawaii and then one of the engines went out. So I was not having a great time for Chey going back from Boston to Nashville. I was literally tensed up the entire time, having a minor anxiety attack the entire way. And then, did not help, again, no problem to the pilot. It probably had to do with air control, like just making him, because we arrived later and later, so I think they were just like holding him so he couldn't land. But he banked like 4 times around Nashville. For someone that is already terrified, banking, and then, like, it wasn't just banking, right? That's fine. It was, like, going down, and then we would stop, and it's like we would fall, and I'm like, can we stop that? I can see buildings from here. Can we stop that? So I hated every single second of that. But again, I don't think that was his fault. I think it was because, like, they were trying to hold him in the air till he could land, so that's fine. I dealt with it. I survived. Whatever. All that to say, I am so proud of myself for learning the ropes, for going through that all by myself. If you are learning to travel by yourself, if you're intimidated like I was, learn the terminology first. That is some of the big advice I can give to you. That way it's a little less intimidating. Like, learn what, even if it seems ridiculously simple, learn what a gate is. Learn what a terminal is. Learn what the differences are. Don't be afraid to literally go up to people at the airport and ask, where is this thing? Because they get asked that a million times a day. They're not gonna think you're stupid. I promise. Well, I mean, they might, but they won't say it to your face. And you're only gonna be one of a million other people they think are stupid, not because of your question, but just because they deal in service and they think that everyone is stupid. It's not personal. So please don't be afraid to ask. I know it can be very intimidating, and if you are to a point where you feel so intimidated you can't ask anyone, there's plenty of signs and there are plenty of information around. Just take a second, take your breath, and just walk and look. Walk and look. Stay along the walls and look. And as for planes, too, planes are, knock on wood, I know, like, we always hear the news horror stories about, like, what goes wrong with planes and stuff. But think about it in terms of, like, planes are safer than they've ever been comparatively to, like, 60 years ago. That helped me in thinking about it. And also a way that I kept myself calm on my flight to Eastern Europe and kind of on these flights is, again, even if it starts feeling a little rough and you're a very inexperienced flyer, look around the people around you, because chances are they fly a lot more than you. And if they're just, like, chilling out, chances are you're fine, okay? You're gonna be fine. Like, it's normal to be like, I'm in the sky and things are moving. I should not be here. Totally normal. I get you, boo. I get it. And kind of a freeing but also terrifying thought is there's nothing you can do. I know. You're like, why would you tell me that? Because it's a terribly horrifying and yet also freeing thought, because I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, something happens to this plane. Am I gonna fly it? I don't know how to fly a plane. Now, I have ADHD. I could probably figure that out, but I don't want to have to try. And so it was kind of freeing, at least for me, to be like, well, it's out of my hands anyway. That is not my job. No, seriously though, if you're really nervous about flying, perfectly normal. Perfectly safe to be nervous, perfectly safe to be scared. I would recommend you the thing that the guy, the first time I was ever flying, recommended to me, which I did not take his advice, but I thought was very good advice nonetheless, which is go to your local airport and find like a day trip. Find a place that you can fly to, but also if you hate the experience, you can drive back from. So if you live in Nashville, like, fly to Louisville, Kentucky, or something like that. Somewhere where you can pay enough for a ticket, like a one-way trip to that city, just to get the experience of going through security, going through the airport, getting on the plane, what the plane ride feels like, what takeoff and what descent feel like. And then when you get there, if you absolutely hate it, you're still close enough that you can rent a car and drive back. I think that's insanely good advice that I can't believe no one has ever thought of to recommend me, but I am so grateful to that guy for doing that, even though I didn't end up taking that advice. But I'm passing that advice along to you because it is great nonetheless. Okay, I had a great time in Paris. I can't wait to go back. The Beartooth show was amazing. Tooth, you're not watching this, but I love you dudes. You're amazing. You know that already. Julia had an amazing time at the Beartooth show. Okay, this will be like the last thing I tell you. I was a little bit nervous for her, not because she can't handle herself, but just because I want to overstate how wild it's gonna be. Also because Julia doesn't, like, she's never been to a concert like that. She goes to symphonies and very classy, very much more fancy than I. And that's great. She's much more cultured than I am, in so many ways. It was her first ever concert. Beartooth for her first ever show? And so I tried to overstate it of being like, the crowd surfers are going to be like this, like moshings like that, and Wall of Death, and all that kind of stuff. But she ended up having a great time and loving it. There were plenty of crowd surfers. France handled them great, because also, maybe I'm crazy, maybe it's a venue by venue thing, but there are little ladders, if you go to concerts, you know what I'm talking about, at the barricade where the steps, where they have so security can step up on and like catch crowd surfers. I feel like France's were higher than US, because when the guys, and I mean they were tall guys too, but still, like, even the shorter, because when Beartooth came out, they also brought out French firefighters, like, because Julia was explaining that to me, but they brought out more people instead of just 2 guys. They had like 6. When any of them stood up, unlike America, where like they're kind of like neck and like their chest is like at your head, in France it was like I was looking at their stomach. Like, they were more higher up to reach over you and grab people, and that helped so much. I felt like Julia ended up like leaning over the barricade and letting crowd surfers slide down her back. She loved it. She had a great time, which I am so happy with. We met so many nice people there. Just an overall great experience. Especially for her first show. I was like, hell yeah, now we gotta go see Tooth every time they're in Paris. We gotta go see them together. It was also fun to get to surprise them because they had no idea that I was coming, and Julia took like a short video clip of it because my mom wanted it. I'll decide whether or not I'm gonna put it in this video. She loved meeting them though. She loved going to the show. And she found a couple new songs and stuff that she liked, and we overall just had a really great time. It was an awesome experience, and that's what I can say about Paris overall. That's enough of me yapping. It's almost 40 minutes. Gross. I absolutely can't wait. And hopefully the next time I go, I'll speak a little bit more French, so I'll be a little bit more competent in case they keep mistaking me for a fellow countryman and want to talk to me, you know? And I also like this method of vlogging my trips, of not making super talky bits where like I said, I'm having the experience instead of creating the experience for someone else. Don't get me wrong, there will be videos with Julia coming in the future if she's still comfortable with being on camera and doing that and all that up to her consent. We have plenty of stuff planned. Don't worry. But stuff like this, I'm like, it's more about like my experience. My first ever time visiting, my first ever time being in Paris. I just want to have fun times with my best friend, you know? Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a while. I've been dealing with medical stuff ever since I came back, like I said.
Yay.
But just been dealing with chronic illness type stuff that has been pushing stuff back from me actually putting out the videos that I wanted to make. I had 2 videos that I wanted to make around Halloween, which will hopefully be up soonish after this video. Knock on wood. If you like videos like this, I am going to have more vlogs up on this channel, but I kind of just do a little bit of everything here. I have book vlogs, I have music videos, I have whatever the hell I feel like making. So if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into a surprise in your inbox or whatever it happens to come out, subscribe down below. We'd love to have you here. I'd love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you ain't heard it from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace. Bye!